Thank you, Deputy Speaker. These laws from Minister Dutton would have a chilling effect on journalists breaking politically significant stories, on grassroots community activists and on brave whistleblowers who speak out and protect the public's right to know what their government is doing. These laws could see these brave people jailed for up to 5 years if they refuse to reveal their sources, if you're a journalist, for example. And it's no wonder that barristers who have had a close look at this have said that this will have a chilling effect on the willingness of people to speak to journalists about issues of political significance, and a decrease in media coverage and reporting on those matters, thereby inhibiting public debate. The powers that Labor and Liberal are about to give the Attorney-General, unfettered in this bill, will be so far-reaching that they can be used to clamp down on civil society organisations and political advocacy groups, including environment, human rights and refugee groups. And this law and these powers would make Australia a world leader in state-sanctioned tracking of citizens and coercive questioning powers, going further than any other Five Eyes country. And Labor and Liberal are about to vote for it. And this always happens at the end of the year. Labor and Liberal put a lump of coal in the parliamentary Christmas stocking. There is always a bill that gets rushed through at the end of the year that takes away people's rights, and people should be very concerned about this legislation. Because to the extent that bits of this legislation are maybe half a step and shuffle forward because they remove some powers, it is 4, 5, 6, 7 steps back. And it is not enough, I say to the opposition, to say, we will give the government unfettered powers that make Australia a world leader in being able to examine and question and search and seize things from citizens in the hope that maybe one day we'll take them back later. If these powers are so bad, which they are, let's not give them to the minister in the first place. And it's critical that people understand a bit about the detail of what is happening here and why this last-minute piece of legislation that is being rushed through should send a shiver down the spine of people who think that Australia is a place where you have the right, provided that you're not breaking the law, you have the right to go about your business freely without government ministers, not even security agencies, but ministers, being able to search and seize you and your property. Because that's what this will do. That's what this will do, and we've got to understand it. There will be a thing called a questioning warrant in this bill, which will now be available broadly. And it will allow people, where there's suspicion, you haven't been convicted of anything, but there's a suspicion someone has, and I'll come to who that someone is, there's a suspicion that someone has, you might have done something wrong, they'll be able to bring you in, detain you, hold you for questioning, and under this bill, a police officer will be able to conduct a search of the person who's apprehended and seize items and basically come in and search and seize your items. Now, at the moment, these very broad powers, if someone wants to issue a warrant to exercise those kind of broad powers, which are going to be expanded under this bill, you have to go to a judge. Labor and Liberal are about to vote in supporting this bill to give that power to the Attorney-General, to a minister to be able to call you in to do that, and to a minister to be able to authorise you to be searched and your property to be seized. Unfettered power to a minister. Now, I've heard all of the things that otherwise the opposition and others say about how this minister and this Attorney-General conduct their affairs, and how in many instances they're not fit to hold their jobs, and how they turn a blind eye to civil rights. But as the rest of the country knows that you wouldn't trust this government to protect your privacy and your liberty, we are nonetheless, on the eve of Parliament rising, about to give the Attorney-General, a minister, not a law enforcement agency, not a judge overseeing it, but a minister, the power to pull you in for questioning and authorise search and seizure. That should not happen. It certainly should not happen when the only inquiry into this has been with a closed-shop committee, where Labor and Liberal get together and say, oh, it's okay, we're quite happy to hand over that power to the state that makes Australia a world leader in these kind of state-sanctioned tracking of citizens and coercive questioning powers. Now, I'm pleased that the opposition is going to move an amendment to at least require a judge or some issuing authority to oversee these warrants. But if that amendment fails, we should all vote against the bill. Because otherwise what we are doing, I'm not surprised that certain members don't want to hear this debate, because I suspect that in other instances they'd have railed against these kind of powers being given to the Attorney-General. Because if we don't vote against this today and try and stop it, then we are saying, then Labor and Liberal are saying they don't mind if the Attorney-General now has unfettered powers in a way that you would struggle to find even in other Five Eyes countries, to pull someone in for questioning and to search and seize their property. And what is also happening in this is that there will be warrants available to be issued with respect to 14-year-olds. And we are going to see a lowering of the age for whom this could be targeted against. Now, that would be a breach of our international obligations under the Convention of the Rights of the Child. Now, it is disappointing, as we head towards the end of the year, that Labor and Liberal are in lockstep in giving more power to the Attorney-General and to the Minister. There is no case that's been made that this is going to make Australia safer. It's just going to give a minister unaccountably more powers. And I would say we have seen during the course of this year that when the Parliament chooses to stand up to the government, we can sometimes bring about change. The government doesn't have to always get their way. But they will get their way if Labor's willing to wave everything through. So I would hope that the opposition reconsiders this power grab by a government that is going to take away people's liberty, even when you haven't been convicted of doing anything wrong. And you're not going to need to satisfy a court anymore that there's a suspicion. You just need a minister now to have a suspicion, unchallengeable, with respect to a very broad range of activities that is now going to encompass journalists, community activists and whistleblowers. And all of a sudden, if this law passes, the minister is going to have power to interfere in their lives. Anyone who cares about the rule of law and individual liberty should be very worried about this bill. Should be very worried about this bill. Of course, standing up for national security is important. But you have to make sure that in protecting Australia, we don't take away the things that define us as what we are in the first place. And one of those, I would have thought, is that if you want to stand up and speak out and blow the whistle on something that is happening by a government under your name, or if you want to go and be a community activist and organise a demonstration against the government, you should be able to do it without worrying that the minister is going to have unfettered power to call you in for questioning, hold you, keep you separate from the rest of the world and seize your property and search your home. But that's the power that Labor and Liberal are about to give to the current Attorney-General. And I want you to think about that. The current ministers that in many other instances even the opposition have said are not fit to be exercising the powers that they do, they are about to hand this over to them. And I heard from the opposition spokesperson that they're going to give it to them on the hope that the Attorney-General and the government uses it well. Well, that is going to be great comfort. That is going to be great comfort to the person who finds themselves called in for questioning and detained and their property search and seized even though they haven't done anything wrong. Perhaps they've just blown the whistle. Perhaps all they've done is organise a rally and been a community activist. Perhaps they're a journalist. Well, that hope counts for nothing. We shouldn't be giving powers to someone to a government, to an unaccountable minister, and then just hope that they do the right thing. If we want them to do the right thing, let's put it into law. Let's put it into law. And if we're not guaranteed that the minister will do the right thing, and there's plenty of reasons looking at these ministers to think that they won't do the right thing, if we're not guaranteed that they're going to do the right thing, let's not give them the power in the first place. That's what we should do. So I would urge, I expect this from the government. You know, you expect this from the government. Every year they encroach further and further on individuals' liberty and erode the rule of law more and more and more. But I would just plead with the opposition to reconsider handing these powers over to the government, because you hope one day maybe get into power and you might be able to repeal it, although maybe not. Maybe there'll be a different person sitting in the chair at that stage who has a different approach to it, or maybe the government, maybe the party will change its position. Instead of hoping in a wing and a prayer that maybe one day will take away the power, let's just not give it to him in the first place. This government does not deserve the right to track citizens who haven't done anything wrong more than they have at the moment. They have not earned that trust, and we should not give them powers that are not going to be overseen by a judge that would make Australia a world leader in state surveillance of its citizens. So this bill should be opposed. The amendment is an amendment that will be supported because it takes out a bad bit, but if the amendment fails, we should vote against the bill. I urge the opposition to consider voting against the bill if the amendment fails, because otherwise it will be them who has handed over to the government powers to do things that in other countries you can't do. And when the minister does it, when the minister hauls you in, when the minister searches your house, you're not going to have any recourse. You're not going to have any recourse. And that will be a dark day for Australian democracy and for the rule of law and for individual liberties.
I thank the member.